Right then, welcome back to the channel. It appears that Erik ten Hag might have his days numbered at Manchester United. It's not a thought process I'm massively behind, but it does appear that it could be the reality. Ineos are doing a root and branch evolution, or evaluation even, of Manchester United and trying to find the ways to improve every single department at the football club. Arguably the most important of those is the manager. Now, I've been of the assertion over the last at least couple of weeks, looking from the outside at what is going on with Ineos and the way they're conducting themselves, and come to the sort of surmisation that I think they'll probably give him time. Recent reports coming out in the papers and the constant leaks from some of the players at Manchester United seem to be counter to that, and it does now appear that there's a very real possibility that Manchester United and Erik ten Hag could part ways in the summer. With that being the case, I think it would be a prudent thing for us to do to assess the likely candidates to take over at Manchester United and their suitability. So let's do that. In first, Zinedine Zidane. Now, probably the biggest name, or comfortably the biggest name on this list, and possibly one of the only semi-exciting names on the list as well. And there's been speculation about Zidane and his appointment at Manchester United for a long time. It's been some sort of a very long-standing narrative. I'm not sure why. Possibly just because of those Champions League wins, but like he's never sort of given United the eyes as far as I'm aware, and there's never been any sort of prior relationship. I haven't been without that managerial role since he left Real Madrid for the second time in 2021. The buzz around a tenure of United has resurfaced a lot, actually. And while he boasts 2 La Liga titles and 3 Champions League trophies in 4 seasons, weirdly, the jury is out on his coaching abilities. What is his style of play? What are his coaching tenets and philosophies? 2-year tenures at one club raise questions about his impact. Is he just a slightly more successful version of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Operating with a team more capable than Manchester United and therefore more capable of bringing in some of the results that Real Madrid did over those that we saw at Manchester United. We will never know, I guess, is the answer to that. But despite being away from the game for well over 2 years now, Zidane has expressed a readiness to return, which leaves the lingering possibility of a chance he finds his way to Old Trafford. Speaking at GQ last summer, he said, "I feel refreshed, and there's nothing better than talking to a player before a match. I need that." When I look at the methodical way Ineos have gone about the rest of their business, when I look at what they're probably doing when it comes to identifying a shortlist of managers, the interviews that we've seen with Jim Radcliffe are our only look into the thinking of Ineos. And some of that may be misdirection, and some of that may be the out-and-out truth that comes out of his mouth, and we have no way of knowing until we get to look back on this in 10 years and go, that was a load of bollocks, that was what we tried to do, that was what we did. So when I'm looking from the outside and trying to analyse the things that are being said, he seemed to say that the club would set the philosophy and then they will find a manager that can adhere to that philosophy and deliver it. Now, of all of the question marks about Zidane, the philosophy one, can he play to a philosophy? Is his philosophy aligned with Manchester United? Because you don't want to grab someone and then bend them into fitting the philosophy. You want someone whose philosophy is just loosely aligned to it, because if they don't believe in the philosophy, they'll never be able to carry it out. So you want someone whose philosophy is very aligned to the one that the club sees, because then they'll play the same way. So Alex Ferguson was a gambler by nature. He wanted to play fast, aggressive, attacking football, and it suited very much what Manchester United were looking for when they appointed him. It took him a while to get to that. There was a lot of very, very boring 0-0, 1-0 sort of, and 1-0 losses, stages that United had to go through to get to that point. But that was what we appointed. Now, you put a gun to somebody's head and go, I need you to tell me in detail what Zinedine Zidane's tactical philosophy is, you go, winning, which is a good philosophy to have, but does it tick a box? I mean, winning does, but does it tick the philosophical box? Not sure. Next on the list, Simeone Inzaghi. Now, he's emerged as one of the bookies' favourites from Manchester United, and he's currently the second favourite behind Graham Potter. Anyway, he's had successful managerial stints at both Lazio and Inter Milan, and he's brought silverware to Lazio, and he's revitalised Inter Milan, winning the Coppa Italia twice and the Supercoppa Italiana 3 times. His current success in the 23-24 season sees Inter leading Serie A by 12 points. He's considered a bit of a gamble due to relative inexperience. He does have undeniable success and ability to revive struggling clubs. That might make him a potentially inspired choice. However, with Inter's position to win the league, his reluctance to leave before the campaign's end does add a layer of uncertainty. And reports are suggesting that United, Chelsea and Liverpool are actively gathering information about Inzaghi, whose contract expires, coincidentally, at the same time that Erik ten Hag's does in the summer of 2025. Now, what we're forgetting is there's a very real chance that you're going into this summer with Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Liverpool and Manchester United all needing new managers. So some of the names on this list will move this summer and take up new posts, but it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be at Old Trafford. Third on the list, Nagelsmann. Now, before the Bayern job, he'd already showcased some serious managerial abilities with the spells at Hoffenheim and Leipzig. His only full season at Bayern Munich, he won his first 2 pieces of silverware. He did get the Super Cup and also the Bundesliga title. Unfortunately, he lost in the Champions League quarterfinals to Villarreal. Nagelsmann's Bayern scored 97 goals in the Bundesliga. Entering the next season, they won the Super Cup again. It's a bit of a token friendly, really, for them at this point. They won all of their group games in the Champions League in a very, very tough group. And then they sacked him in March, and he was replaced by Thomas Tuchel. He left Bayern with a 71.4% win rate, and he possesses a very impressive set of tactical qualities. He has drive to continually improve and innovate, which I think is probably something that I can see Ineos being excited about. And his emphasis on player relationships, acknowledging that coaching is 30% tactics, 70% social competence, I like. It aligns with the holistic approach that is needed at a team somewhere like United. And whether working with the current squad or potentially bringing in new talent, United are going to require a coach that is capable of stimulating players to perform to the levels achieved by some of the other top clubs in England. He is currently the Germany boss, and he was appointed as that role in September 2023. His contract is only until after the Euros, which obviously is being hosted in Germany, so maybe one to keep an eye on as the summer progresses. But also, he will be looking for work on the back end of that. Now, I think there's a very real chance that there is someone that is coming to Manchester United, should they decide to part ways with Erik ten Hag, probably on the back of winning a Euros. Whether or not it is Nagelsmann and not someone a little bit closer to home, given the choice, I would probably go with Nagelsmann over Southgate, obviously. I think some success this summer with the German national team, I could see Nagelsmann being effective at Manchester United. I think when you're looking at that sort of checklist of the things that we would want in terms of the characteristics, the success, the pedigree, where he's been, what he's done, who he's worked with in the past, Nagelsmann's ticking a lot of those boxes. The fact that there's a relationship there with Ralf Rangnick and a lineage with Ralf Rangnick, and supposedly Ralf Rangnick is actually being someone that has either been consulted or there's been a plan in place to have a consultation with Ralf Rangnick. It would not surprise me to see Nagelsmann near the top of a preferred list for Manchester United. And I actually wouldn't take too much into the success or failures of Germany this summer, because it's not like he can sign someone to start scoring some goals for the German national team, is it? It's a solid squad, but it's a little bit unspectacular. Now, is that enough to get the job done on home soil? It might be, but I wouldn't. It's the same as like if Southgate delivers the Euros, did he deliver them, or did he just pick Jude Bellingham and Jude Bellingham delivered them? Do you know what I mean? So, no, I wouldn't read too much into success or failure of an international tournament when it comes to a manager. And then Thomas Tuchel, which is not the last name on the list. We have got one more name on this list. But should United lean towards Tuchel, an interim would supposedly be necessary. And that might see Solskjaer come back. Don't know how some people would feel about that, but Tuchel's managerial journey has been a hell of a roller coaster, guiding Bayern Munich to a Bundesliga title in 22-23. So setbacks in the current season, lost the Super Cup and knocked out of the Pokal by Saarbrücken in the second round. Meanwhile, right now, they trail Lazio 1-0 in the Champions League round of 16, with a second leg still to play. And they sit second in the Bundesliga, 10 points behind surprise leaders Bayer Leverkusen, who do look like they're going to win the league, hilariously, for Harry Kane. And similarly, his stint at Chelsea showcased early success. He won them a Champions League, but then it ended in disappointment with his departure in September 2022. Now, that might have been the first mistake Todd Boehly made. And there's been a few since. And also, being sacked at Chelsea doesn't actually necessarily mean anything, good or bad. It's just, there's a lot of people been sacked by Chelsea. Despite the recent challenges, he is high profile. He has been successful. And I think he'll probably get a high profile job elsewhere. And I wouldn't be completely against having him come to United. The absence of Champions League football next season could provide Tuchel with an opportunity to shape a team without the distraction of European competition, although I do feel we'll probably end up in Europa no matter what. I think some people will look at the fact that he's been fired from a couple of jobs and think that that's a massive negative. I think you've got to look at what the expectations and realities are on the ground at both of those clubs before you make a positive or negative judgment call on that manager. And finally, one from the Premier League. De Zerbi. Roberto De Zerbi has achieved remarkable success. Seeing Brighton into European competition is no mean feat. And the team's performances in the Premier League last season were outstanding. And they really taught us a lesson at Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final last year as well. This season, it's not quite gone to plan. They've had injuries, a bit like United have had injuries. And, as much as I will excuse some of United's performance issues on those injuries and not entirely blame Ten Hag for them, you have to play fair and give the same for De Zerbi. Now, there's an obvious coaching style. When you look at this tick list that may or may not exist and might just live inside my head, De Zerbi probably fits a lot of those sort of boxes. And when you got to think as well, Ashworth's previous reign at Brighton, I can probably see a lot of the philosophies that United are going to try and adhere to being ported over from his time at Brighton. And what does that mean? Well, that means there's going to be a lot of philosophies that align with people who've been successful at Brighton. Possibly why Potter is number one on the list. Possibly why De Zerbi is on my list. And even though I could say he's lacking the resumes of all of the other candidates, De Zerbi's success at Sassuolo and Shakhtar, as well as Brighton, showcases a manager that is ready for it. He's ready to move up. He's probably more experienced at coaching at places that have environments set up to succeed, but I think the front office that Ineos are building would probably be more aligned with something that he's used to. I don't think he would be able to ride out a run of 5 wins in 21 league games so easily as he has managed at Brighton after their strong start. They've fell off. Would he have a better youth system to call upon at Manchester United? You could argue that would be the case. Would he have better resources at his disposal at Manchester United? You should be able to argue that's the case. And you would also argue that every summer shouldn't see all of his best talent stripped away and sold. Shouldn't. Doesn't really happen to United. We're usually the destination, not the stepping stone. There's 5 good managers there. That I'd probably put Zidane bottom of the list. Because in terms of everything that all of this lot have achieved, you think De Zerbi, maybe Zidane and Inzaghi are bottom of the list. And I think Nagelsmann, Tuchel, De Zerbi. Probably put Tuchel and De Zerbi as joint second. And maybe Nagelsmann as the leading candidate there. But there isn't the obvious, oh my God, it has to be him sort of candidate that sticks out. Hence why Graham Potter is the bookie's favourite. And Gareth Southgate seemingly is in the running. Because there's no obvious candidate. Now I think and I hope Erik Ten Hag gets another 12 months to turn around this shit show. But I'm not in charge and there's no certainties in football. And the most dangerous time for any football manager is not the international break. It's when a new owner gets the keys to his office. So we will see. But I'm interested to know your thoughts. Rank them. Rank that 5 for me. In terms of number 1, the one you would want, to number 5, the one you would least want. Or, I'm out of this list. I mean, obviously Southgate's number 5 on everyone's list, right? Yeah, thought so. Anyway, just tune in. As always, take it easy. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.